Hi, I'm Jared from KTWU. Coming up, a segment from Sunflower Journeys. If you enjoy it, please consider visiting ktwu.org to make a contribution.
In our final story, Bill Schaefer tells us about a work of art called Postcards from Midlin, built around correspondence between residents of a fictional Kansas town and a young man who left to go to college in the 1950s.
Almost Thanksgiving, 1960. Dear Kenny, can't wait to see you. Bring laundry, bring a big appetite, bring a friend if you want. Don't bring studies or long faces. I love you, your mom.
These are postcards from Midlin, Kansas, dating from the late 1950s. And where is Midlin, Kansas?
Well, Midlin's out there on the Blue and the Chickasaw Rivers, Bill, and
Actually, Midlin, Kansas doesn't exist. It sprang to life in the mind of Wichita artist and retired professor Clark Britton, who drew the cards and then passed them on to writer Tom Averill at Washburn University in Topeka.
well, the Midlin, Kansas postcards came to me as a kind of gift in the mail. I remember a little town I'd never heard of. It turned out to be a fictional town, Midlin, circa about 1956. Just gorgeous little cards, pen and ink drawings, all done by Clark Britton of Wichita State, and a little letter of introduction from him. And this really seemed one of the best realized places, fictional places, that I'd seen in a long time. And so I wrote a story, and it didn't work very well, and so I shortened it by a good deal, and then decided to write some postcard messages on the backs of these postcards to actually turn them not just into illustrations, but into actual postcards. And that's how Midlin, Kansas, the story in postcards came about.
A lot of the things that he had taken out of the main story, then he built into the postcards. And it was a wonderful kind of collaboration, because during that period, he and I worked closely together with how the flow of the postcards went and how they developed and integrated with the story. And I feel like that now the postcards are not just an adjunct, they're an integrated part of the total package. The drawings were all created extemporaneously. I didn't use any reference material. Every drawing was completed when I started. I didn't make any preliminary sketch. I just decided, you know, one day I would do the used car lot, and I made up the name for the man who ran the used car lot, and I just did a drawing.
To promote the postcards and Averill's short story about the town, a traveling exhibit featuring the cards was arranged with the Kansas State Historical Society. This month, it was in Pretty Prairie.
Oh, Pretty Prairie is as Midlin as you can get. As a matter of fact, it's probably pretty close to those postcards from 1950s. Yeah, this is it. You know, you walk around, you see these, you know, well-kept homes with picket fences, and of course it's spring, and you know the peonies are coming up, and the red buds are in bloom, and it's just that kind of town.
I think the exhibit's great. It's very authentic. I like the way different writing styles have been used. I like the drawings. Of course, being a small town guy, this is real nostalgic for me, because I left here too, except I came back, unlike the guy on the postcards.
Part of the reason for bringing the Midlin exhibit was that it gave us a way to celebrate rural Kansas and a view of rural Kansas at a different time of this century.
Clark mounted the cards in panels, and we have the graphic on top, the postcard as it might have been received by Kenneth all those years ago, and then of course we have an exhibit catalog that goes around that includes my short story as well as the text of all of the pieces. The exhibit's kind of a funny thing, because if you sat down with the exhibit or stood in front of it, you might be there a good long time. There's a lot of print, there's a lot of words, and there's a lot of interesting visual things to take a look at. So we created a catalog that goes along with it that people can purchase for just the price of copying it, basically. And that way people can engage what they want to when they're standing in front of it, can go home, read the story, read the messages, read the descriptions. Midlin is as simple and as complicated as you want it to be.
November 11th, 1957. Dear Lemon, I've been thinking about you clear over there in Wichita, because today they put all the class pictures up in the hall of good old Borsty. You're the only one with a crew cut in your class. Did you deliberately do that? Part of your sourpuss look that nobody else could have except you? Hope you're learning to smile except when you play basketball. You gotta be serious about something. No kidding. You're the greatest. Can't wait to see you Thanksgiving. Love, your sister, Nutmeg.
As the exhibit opens in some venues, a slide presentation of the postcards is shown, supported by a reader's theater of locals who give voice to the messages written on the cards. Messages written to a young man away at college with images and notes from his hometown.
December 14th, 1957. Dear Kenny, I know we kind of broke it off before you left. But who else will tell you I took the dispatcher's job working for old Sam Poplar? He's a hoot. So if you ever need to know anything about the old hometown, write me, your friend, Lanny Miner.
I think we've lost something, and I think that's something that small towns still have, and I think there's kind of a movement of people away from the city back to small towns. Because they want a simpler kind of lifestyle. They want to have a community where they can kind of walk the streets and feel safe.
I think Clark is really, he really hit the nail on the head. It's just, I don't know, a celebration of how that wonderful life, probably 30, 40 years ago, that existed in Kansas. And a lot of people like me who are starting to gray up a little bit, recall that time and just how good it was for raising kids and for building community.
I think Clark Britton said it best, is that there's a little bit of Midlin, Kansas in everybody. Our collaboration just blossomed and grew over about a 2-year period of our sending things back and forth, of Clark writing the descriptions that appear on the postcards, my writing the messages and the fictional story, and really together we came up with something that neither one of us could have created at all individually.
I feel like that some days I go back and visit Midlin, and it's still there and still real to me, as I hope it's real to other people.
Glad you could stop by to see a clip from Sunflower Journeys. There are more great local stories out there waiting to be discovered, but it takes help from viewers like you and me to make it happen. Visit KTWU.org right now to make a pledge.